Volver, ¿sí? Marta Clarín Casillas. Un aplauso para ella. mariachi latino. Allí váyanse en la página mariachilatino.com. Ahí nos ven, ahí por ahí. Ahí con Rafa también. Con el señor Rafael, cómo no. Gracias, que se diviertan.
Esto es, no es una celebración de nuestra relación, es más una celebración de ustedes y la parte que han tomado en nuestras vidas, en todo lo que nos han ayudado para llegar a este punto. No voy a ayudar. Pero de todo corazón les queremos dar las gracias y de verdad decirles que esta fiesta y este día se trata de ustedes también. Y que nos veremos mucho y que siga la fiesta y que siga la celebración. I just want to say that we'd like to thank everybody for coming here today, for making the trip, and just acknowledge the fact that this is, yes, it's our wedding, but it's also really a celebration of all of you and the role that you've played in our lives, all the help and the support that you've given us to get to this point today, so that we'd be ready for each other. And we love you all so much, and we just can't thank you enough for being here and for supporting us, and we just hope that the party continues, the celebrations continue, and that we have fun for the rest of the night and for the rest of our lives. Yeah.
Bueno, también quiero decir para nosotros dos que sentimos tan sentimos tan bendecidos estar con una familia tan grande y amante y bonita. Y estamos encantados que todos ustedes puedan celebrar hoy en este día tan especial para nosotros. So blessed by all of you. The view from here is awesome. It's just such a beautiful tapestry of beautiful people. I mean, the main thing I want to say is to thank all of you for traveling near and far. We have a couple from England, Andreas and Alex, and Alex's brother JJ has come all the way from northern Spain. Many of you had to endure various kinds of travel tribulations, sometimes discovering that the plane you were supposed to take actually took off the day before. We're so glad you're all here. But there are a couple thank yous that I want to highlight. There are a lot of people to thank. I can't mention all of them, but one in particular is the man holding the camera right now. That's Stephen Buskin right there. For all of you who saw the Save the Date cards, he did those photos, and he basically takes everyone and makes them look 5 times better looking. So he's a real magician. So we're delighted to have him here, and his family is very close friends of our family. The second person I want to thank is someone who you didn't see at the service today, but you heard. And the music, I think we all agree at the service, was just transcendental. And that's the work of a fantastic music director who's known Alejandra for many, many years. And we're just so delighted that she was able to be the music director for us. And that's Isolda Amadea. Could you stand up? Now, I hope you don't mind if I say a few more words, since it's my own wedding. And I would just like to tell a little story about a boy and a girl. This story begins with the girl on a trip back home to visit her family. And she goes to the airport, and she's with her sister, and they're waiting in line to check in, and her sister looks over and notices another guy. A young man, very well dressed, with long sideburns. And a big smile and the athletic build of a soccer player. And she nudges her sister and says, "Oh, look at that really handsome guy over there. Maybe he's going to be on your flight." And the girl looks over and checks the guy out and says, "Well, he's okay." So they say goodbye, and the girl gets on the plane, and who should sit down right in the row in front of her but the handsome man from the check-in line. And so the man, seeing this beautiful girl in the row behind him, immediately tries to strike up a conversation. And she's quite coy at first, but it turns out that their hometowns are in the same state, and they both moved to the same city to find work. And so there's a lot in common, so they start chatting, and a kind older gentleman sitting next to the girl offers to switch seats with the boy, so they can talk more easily. So they switch seats and spend the whole plane ride talking. And he's really funny, he makes her laugh, and she has a really engaging personality, and is really fun to talk to. And so after the flight, they walk together out to the baggage claim, where the girl's oldest sister is waiting to meet her. Now, the oldest sister is very protective of her younger siblings. So when she sees her younger sister walking side by side with this handsome gentleman, that spells one thing: trouble. So she says, "Who are you?" And the girl says, "Oh, this is a friend that I just made on the plane." And the boy very proudly says, "Yeah, and I'm going to take her out to dinner tonight." And the older sister says, "Oh, no, you're not." She marches her sister straight away. So there's no date that day. But a couple weeks later, after they've returned from their visits to their family, the boy comes to her house to find her. And the girl is renting an apartment from an older woman who treats this girl like a daughter of her own. And that means that she imposes a strict curfew, staying out late at night, and no boys in the apartment. So the options are a little bit limited. So the boy proposes to take her to church. So the next Sunday, he picks her up, they go to church, and afterwards he takes her to his favorite Chinese restaurant, they have lunch, and then he takes her back home to drop her off. And the next week they do the same thing, and pretty soon this becomes their weekly routine. And, you know, for a lot of young fellas, seeing a girl for a couple hours a week on a Sunday to go to church and Chinese food cannot be not keep their interest for very long. This boy was very patient, and this girl was very beautiful. So this continues for quite some time until the girl's mother back home discovers that she's seeing a boy. And she does not like that idea. So she immediately orders her daughter to come back home. And the girl's very sad because she's grown to like this boy very much. But she doesn't want to disobey her mother. So she packs her bags and says goodbye to the boy and goes back home. And she assumes that things are over with him because there's no way that it can work over such a long distance. And she begins to rebuild a life back in her hometown. But after a couple months, she gets a long handwritten letter in the mail from the boy, and it's full of passion and emotion. And the next week, another letter comes, and this makes her very happy, but she doesn't want her family to find out that she's still in touch with this boy. So she works out a deal with the mailman, so that if there's a letter for her, come up to the house and give a sign, and then she'll walk to the end of the block and meet him to pick up the letters. So this scheme works out very well. They keep everything under the radar, and they're able to keep in touch. But she has no idea if she's ever going to actually see the boy again. Well, after a few months, all of a sudden, one day, totally unannounced, the boy shows up at their front door. And he knocks on the door, and the girl's father answers the door. He says, "Who are you?" And the boy says his name and his hometown, and he says, "And I've come to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage." Well, the father has never met this boy. But he says, "Okay, well, come on in." So the boy comes in and he sits down in front of the entire family, including the very protective old mother and oldest sister. And so the father turns to his daughter and says, is this what you want, to marry this boy? And she's totally taken off guard. She has no idea that he was planning to arrive. So she answers softly, yes, Dad. And the boy looks over and says, well, come on, you can say it louder than that. And the father, who's very wise, thinks for a moment and says, well, I will give you permission to marry my daughter, but you'll have to wait a year. And in the meantime, she's going to stay at home with us. So this deal would not fly with a lot of young fellas, but this boy was very patient, and this girl was very beautiful. So he returns to work, and they continue to correspond with letters that they write back and forth. And this goes on, but after about 9 or 10 months, the letters stop coming from him. There are no letters in March, none in April, none in May. And by now it's been over a year, and she assumes that this boy has moved on. And then on the 1st of June, she gets a phone call, and it's the boy, and he says, hey, I'm here, are you ready? And she says, what are you talking about? I haven't heard from you since February. And it turns out that he had been sending his letters to the church to arrange for the wedding, but none of the correspondence was getting passed along to her. Oh. So very quickly, in a matter of weeks, they arranged a wedding, and they put together the service, which is held at the church where the girl grew up. And they kill an animal from the farm and have a huge celebration. And they move back to the city where they first met, here in Los Angeles, and they raise 4 handsome children. So please raise your glasses in toasting the couple without whom we wouldn't be here today, Mama and Papa, Jose and Martha.
I want to make a comment.
He wants to defend himself.
Probando 1, 2, 3. No, the only thing, I got nothing against what he says. What amazed me is that he just said exactly the steps it was done 35 years ago. How he got it, I don't know. I just want to approve exactly what he said. It's very true. Thank you.
And so the story of that boy and girl is not so different from the story of another boy and girl. And this boy and girl meet first at a birthday party for the girl's brother. And the girl is a senior in high school, the boy is a freshman in college, and she comes out, she bakes a cake to bring to his party. And also at the party is a boy who's friends with the brother. And the boy and girl don't actually meet at this party. They're not introduced. But the girl ends up coming to the same college, and because they have friends in common, they eventually get introduced and get to know each other. And the girl has a very engaging personality, is a lot of fun to talk to, and is very beautiful. And the boy is very handsome, with the athletic build of a soccer player. And he drives a car. So he offers to give her a ride all the way back to their home state.
Oh yeah!
So they take a long road trip together at one point in college. And they get to know each other over the years, but they never form a relationship. And then several years later, the girl's applying to medical school. And one of the schools that she's applying to is the medical school where the boy is attending. So when she goes to visit, they arrange to have dinner, and she goes over to his apartment, and he cooks a soup in his crock pot and makes some homemade bread, and they sit around talking about medicine and stories about each other. And after a long dinner, the boy says, "Oh, I'm really sorry, but I actually have to get going." And the girl says, "Well, where are you going?" And he says, "I have to go see my girlfriend." This makes the decision very easy for the girl. She turns down the offer from that med school, goes somewhere else. And the next time they really are in touch is a few years later. The girl is on leave studying abroad, and she writes a letter to the boy, which begins with a very vivid dream that she just had about him. And she describes the dream and talks about her experience that year living abroad. And at the end of the letter, she mentions that she's starting to fall in love with someone that she just met, and they're thinking about getting married. Well, this gets the boy's attention. So he writes her back, and he says, "Oh, well, I'm actually planning to go abroad this year. I'm also on leave, and so we have a lot in common, and I think there's a lot to talk about. And don't you think that you should probably wait till that boy meets your family before you actually get engaged?" So she waits, and later that summer, the following summer, the boy hitchhikes across the state to visit the girl, and they spend the weekend talking about their travels and about their stories together, and he meets her family and goes sailing with her father, and by the end of the weekend they've decided that they're going to spend their lives together. And they spend the next year traveling across the state back and forth to see each other, and the following summer they get married in the church where the girl grew up, and they eventually raise 4 handsome boys. Raise your glasses because awesome event, Mom and Dad. And so that story of the boy and girl is not so different from another story. But this boy and girl meet, instead of at the beginning of college, at the end of college. And it's the week before graduation, and they're at a party at a dorm, one of the college dorms, and it's winding down, and everybody's in the breezeway, about to take off, and the boy gets introduced by a friend to this girl. And he was about to head home, he's kind of tired, but this girl's a hottie, so he figures he'll stick around for a little longer. So they chat, and the boy discovers that the girl has a very engaging personality and is super fun to talk to. And the girl thinks the boy is handsome because he has the athletic build beside him. So the next night, they're on the harbor cruise, and the boy spots the girl, but she's dancing with this really smooth operator who's got a lot of slick dance moves. And this boy doesn't have a lot of experience with the opposite sex. Because back at school dances, instead of going to the dance floor to meet girls, he hung out playing ping pong with all his guy friends. So he knows in a head-to-head matchup, he doesn't stand a chance against the slick guy there. But luckily, the girl's dance partner takes a break to go get a couple drinks for them. And in that window of opportunity, the boy seizes the moment to ask the girl to dance. Except it's so crowded and so hot and so loud, you can't really ask anyone to dance properly. You basically just sort of diffuse through the crowd until you're right next to each other, and then you kind of shout, "Hey, how's it going?" And she yells back, "What did you say?" And you say, "Yeah, I'm having a great time too." So they start dancing, and they dance for a song, and they dance for a second song, and they just keep dancing. By the time Mr. Cool comes back with 2 drinks in his hand, the girl's otherwise occupied. So then the boy boy invites the girl to come to his birthday party, which happens to be a couple nights later. And so she comes with a friend, and he introduces her to all of his friends, and things are going very well, but he realizes he needs some alone time with this girl. So he thinks up something, an offer that he knows no girl can turn down. He says, "Come into my room and I'll show you my senior thesis on quantum mechanics." So they go into his bedroom and he pulls out the binder with a massive piece of paper and he starts explaining how the clock is a wave function, has serious philosophical dilemmas. The girl's very polite and she nods for a few minutes, and then she notices an album of photos on the bookshelf, and she says, "Well, maybe we should look at those." So they pull out the photo album and start flipping through the photos, and so she gets to see his family and some of his friends from back home. And they end up spending those last few nights before commencement together each night, and they can feel something very special between them. But because they're young and because they know less of the world and are uncertain about the path they're going to take through it, they realize that they're not ready for a long-distance relationship because the boy is moving to another city for work. So, although they don't continue a relationship, they do stay in touch, and so as they pursue their careers, they exchange emails and letters and phone calls over the years. And then many years later,
Many years
the boy, many years later, the boy is on an island. The boy is with his family on an island in the Great Lakes, where there's no telephone landline, and there's no internet connection, there's no even cell phone service. And in the quiet and peace of that place, he starts to get this yearning that's calling out to him. And one night in particular, he can't fall asleep for hours. He's lying in bed thinking about this girl. And so when he returns home, he realizes he has to figure out a way to see her again. So he doesn't want it to seem too premeditated. So he has to orchestrate a trip to the city where the girl's living. And so to do that, he gets in touch with his college roommate who lives in that city. And they agree to go whiskey tasting one night. And this gives him the perfect excuse to invite the girl out to dinner. And so he goes out to that city, and he has a nice night with his college roommate, drinking whiskeys and cigars on the beach. And this gives him a lot of courage for the following night when he goes to take the girl out to dinner. And the first restaurant they go to is totally booked. They can't get a table. So the second restaurant they go to, they totally luck out. They get the best seats in the house, a booth on the second floor, way in the corner, all by themselves. And they spend the whole evening talking until the restaurant kicks them out, and they catch up on old times and share the stories of all the years that they've been apart. And then the boy is still very nervous because he's not sure if this girl is ready to give him a second chance to open up her heart to him. And so they drive back to her apartment. Oh, the boy had borrowed his college roommate's BMW. Really impressive. So that was very helpful. So they drive back to her apartment, and the boy's very, very nervous. And before, as he says goodbye, he gives her a goodnight kiss. And the girl kisses him back. And that makes the boy very happy because he knows he has a chance. And so then, over the weeks and months and years that followed, they travel back and forth because they live on other sides of the state. And the boy comes to be able to diagnose the condition that makes this girl so exceedingly exceptional. And that is that this girl has been born with a heart that's 3 sizes too large. And with that really big heart, she pours her love into her family, her friends, her work, her community, and she loves him more than he ever thought he could be loved. And in a letter that she had written to him many years before, about 8 years before, she had written, and I quote, "There are very rare times when you find a person you can see yourself loving with a full force of emotion and passion. I see that with you." And this was only the first of many times that she would know something long before he did. So please join me in raising your glasses to my beautiful bride, the force of my destiny. The girl who makes me the happiest guy on the planet, Alejandra. Now, I know I'm taking a lot of your time, but I actually do have a little song, but I would need a guitar for that. I'm looking around. Oh, maybe there is one over there. Let's see if I can get that to
So of course she doesn't know this is coming. So before today I had to be on my best behavior, but now that everything's signed, all bets are off. At least I hope there's no sort of give back clause in that wedding certificate. Hope she can't turn me in. Is that all right?
I can take this.
Oh, it's starting to. You can just hold it. When I get older, losing my hair, many years from now, will you still be going out to dinner with me? Steaks and wine and then a movie. If we stay dancing till 2:45, could I get one more song with you? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 82? If I took you out on a date to the physics lab, would it be alright? Smashing atoms is more fun with two. I'm attracted by your magnetic field. My Geiger counter's clicking for you. I could be handy changing the clocks for daylight savings time. You can tell the Lakers to go, go, go. Just try to keep your blood pressure low. We could play tennis or go for a ride on a bicycle built for two. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 82? If I'm sick with a nasty bug, would you put me to bed and give me lots of meds? And cook a menudo stew. Then when I'm well and strong, I'll play doctor on you. Every night we can watch on TV a telenovela. Si no entiendo cada palabra, explícame cuando hay una pausa. My accent ain't pretty, that I sure know. Eso es con los gringos. Me soportarás, me aguantarás cuando tenga 82. Every summer we can drive a van down to Mexico or to Canada. We can play games all the way. Grandchildren on your knee. Martha, Mike, Jose. Poke me on Facebook, drop me a text, see if I'm on Skype. Hit the speed dial button on your BlackBerry. Leave a voicemail if I'm not free. Give me the answer, tell me the words to make my dreams come true. Say that you'll need me, say that you'll feed me when I'm 82.
So inspirational. I know, thanks, Shanda. Shanda is so inspirational, so brilliant. Brilliant, smart, yes, but radiant on the inside, just has a heart of gold. On the outside, just such a beautiful person. And I feel like she inspires just happiness and joy and excitement in everyone around her. She touches everyone. And so I'm just gonna say actions speak louder than words. Kidding. like to break out and dance?
So next I want to bring up the best man, David Osteen.
Woo!
All right, I'm gonna come to you guys because I'm gonna need Wells as a prop here. Now, for those of you who don't know me, Wells and I have been friends since the 2nd grade, so that makes it about 25 years now. So I can honestly say that I can tell you almost anything there is to know about Wells, and I'm gonna do that. So, I have a story for you, and I don't want to build expectations too high because honestly it's not going to be a great story, but I promise it's short. The reason you're going to want to hear it though is because Wells and I talked the other night, and he said, there is one story you're not allowed to tell about me. He says, I feel so bad about it. He said, you cannot tell it. And I told him, I'm definitely telling that story. I'm really sorry to betray your trust, Wells, but LA, I think you really need to know about the evil that lurks within this man. So the story will demonstrate that, I think. So we have to go back all the way to the 3rd grade. And Wells and I were in music class together. I believe we were standing up and singing the song, Fuzzy Wuzzy Was a Bear. We complete the song, and the teacher instructs us to sit down. So I go to take my seat. And as I go to sit down, I find there's nothing beneath me. So I go falling to the ground. I look behind me and see Wells towering above me, with this sort of maniacal grin. And this next part's a little bit hazy, but I may or may not have begun sort of weeping, either out of shame or betrayal from my best friend. Now, the reason I think this story is sort of telling for Wells is not because Wells was some sort of demon back in elementary school. But the fact that for Wells, this is really the worst thing that I can say about him. Wells, I know, I can see it on your face. You still feel bad. I promise you, I completely forgot about this. My speech was completely different before I said it. But no, Wells, seriously, I forgive you. It's time to let go of the guilt. No, I think a lot of you may have heard before that Wells was our prom king in high school. He did have most of the traditional attributes of a prom king. He was really good at math and physics. He did the real tough guy sports like cross country and tennis. And he was an outstanding marcher in the marching band. But seriously, the fact that Wells was prom really was a big deal, and especially it was a big deal to me. I'm sure it was a bigger deal for Wells, but I think it was a testament to what kind of person he was and how other people in our school recognized that. It wasn't just in our class. I'm not lying when I tell you that every single person in our high school loved Wells, wanted to be friends with Wells, and was friends with Wells, because Wells was friends with everybody. And you know, it's not enough for somebody, I think, to just be, I mean, it's great if somebody is kind and intelligent, but Wells has something that goes beyond that runs much deeper, that people respond to. And I think the best way I can explain it is, I think Wells sees sort of the best in people, and he sort of pushes out all the worst, and so in turn, people sort of give their best back at him. And out of that sort of way of viewing the world, I think there is a sincerity and genuineness that comes out in his interactions with everybody. And it's something I really admire about you, Wells. It's just, I've never met anybody else like you. So as a good friend of Wells, obviously it's been a big concern of mine what he was going to do with the girl situation. And I remember when he started going out with Allie in San Francisco, and I hadn't met her yet, but it was already clear to me that something was different. There was something in Wells that I hadn't seen before. He was lighting up in a way that was just completely new. And after a couple months, when I met Ally and we hung out together, I was ready to call it. I knew you guys were going to get married. And the reason I knew wasn't because Ally was just a kind and beautiful and intelligent woman. It was the way that she affected Wells. And I didn't think this was possible, but with Ally, Wells is an even better and happier person. I'm really, really honored and humbled to be the best man at this wedding, and I'm really happy for you guys. So, congratulations again.
Representing for those that lack the athletic build of a soccer player. Whatever. So Alejandra comes from a huge family. Wells comes from a huge family. There's a lot of people here. But they're great people, like we all know. So, I mean, they build families, they have extended families everywhere they've gone, and they've been trailblazers. They've gone to, you know, they left their house and gone, you know. So, we have extended family from Harvard, from the University of California at Los Angeles, the Ohio State University. And I'm contractually obligated to mention Stanford. With that said, the next person I want to bring up is at Stanford, but she's just there right now. She's fantastic. Go Sarah.
First disclaimer, I don't like speaking in front of a bunch of people, just in front of like 4 or 5. So I'll try to keep it short, unlike my normal behavior, which is I'm neither short nor do I talk for brief periods of time. Just a few things about Ollie and Wells. One, you guys have let me be the 3rd wheel when I didn't have a 4th wheel. Here's my 4th wheel. I'm okay with letting you guys go and be your 2 wheels and grow some more wheels on your own. It's been great to celebrate birthdays with you, and speaking of birthdays, I think I knew for damn sure you were going to be my friend when you got kicked out of a bar on your birthday. For like public drunkenness and dancing. That's my all. That inspired me for the rest of medical school. I never got kicked out of a bar, and I was never publicly drunk in all of medical school. But Alejandra. It was inspiring. I've never seen someone live with such zest for life, such openness, such goodness, and for me, there are not a lot of people that I would follow in their footsteps or look to for advice or watch for maybe I should behave this way, but you are it. You are always an example. Always living your life the way everyone should. And that is so hard to do. Maybe today, maybe yesterday, but certainly tomorrow as times get more difficult and everything gets more complicated, and you'll be a mom and then a grandma, and I think forever and ever you're going to live life the way it should be led and give us all an example.
Also our friends from UCSF, where I was living in residency. They kicked out the bar there, but many of the times it was very close. So I'm a huge Lakers fan. Huge. So am I, but I mean, I was a little embarrassed sometimes. Now someone who will help me be embarrassed at times with Alejandra is a new member of our family, Reed Wilson.
I'm gonna, I'll start this toast in Granada on Christmas Day 2003. And for some background before I get back to Granada, Wells is the oldest of 4 boys. I'm his oldest brother. And we fought as kids maybe 6 or 7 times. It's really hard to pick a fight with Wells. He's always right. But in Granada, on Christmas night of 2003, Wells, in typical Wells fashion, gave John a little bit of academic advice, unsolicited in Wells fashion. And as the recipient of most of Wells's unsolicited advice throughout the years, I lost it. I lost my temper. It pissed me off. And what ensued was one of the larger Wulsin family fights we've ever had. Stu ended up leaving the restaurant early because he couldn't handle the fact that we were talking about our feelings. Mom and Dad were trying to defend me. Wells was trying to defend himself. Mom was trying to get some academic advice about wherever he was in school. But the fight was not really about Wells giving John advice. It was about my sort of spending. I just come back to my sophomore year in college and spent a lot of time with a school therapist trying to figure out what it meant to live in Wells' shadow for 20 years. Trying to unpack a lot of the baggage that Wells has got. Wells casts a pretty big and dark shadow. And it was not always easy to find my way out of that shadow. And I'll sort of switch now to a Christmas 8 years earlier, or whatever, 97 I think, in Kenya. We're in Western Kenya, in a town called Bushiangalo, which just begs to be said out loud. Wells had this great idea to spend New Year's Eve in the same village that my mother had spent a year, 25 years earlier. Her first trip to Kenya was back in the mid-70s, and she spent a year in this small town in Western Kenya. So Wells convinced his oldest brother to spend New Year's Eve out there. I was age 15, Wells was 18, maybe 17. So we got on the train, took the train across the country, a bus, and then a matatu, and then we walked. And we spent the week in a hut. And most of you probably haven't been to Africa, but it's mostly like what you think. I mean, our hut had mud floors and mud walls and thatched roof and no glasses on the windows and no running water. It was legit bush living, and it was cool. Except that I got pretty sick. With no running water, we were going to the bathroom in the outhouse, and I got really sick. And I'll spare you the details, but it wasn't pretty. And Wells, as the older brother, walked about 2 or 3 miles to the closest, I'll call it a convenience store, but that does not paint an accurate picture, to buy toilet paper. Lots and lots of toilet paper. The house where we were staying didn't stock it, didn't really need it, they didn't use it, but it was one of those creature comforts that I had grown accustomed to. And in my given state of disrepair, I was in desperate need. So he did the hike. Wells has always been an instigator. He's the oldest brother, and it was his idea for Mother's Day in about 1988 to put John, age 1.5, in the wagon, and march the 3 of us with John in the wagon down the street. This is back in scenic Ohio, to the local florist to pick up a begonia for our mom. And I don't know where he got, he probably robbed my dad's wallet to get the money. It was Wells' idea to sail around an island up in Canada that ended wetly for most of us. And it was Wells' idea to take me to Utah. Some of you guys heard about a trip that we went to Utah last night. In classic Wells fashion, he grossly undersold his role in that trip. This was a graduation present he gave to me from graduating from high school, where he paid for me to come with him and his buddies from college to Utah for a week. And we hiked around this canyon. He called it a ravine. It was a legit canyon. It was the grandest canyon I've ever seen. And we were in the bottom of the canyon for a week. And on that last morning, it was his idea that he and I would split off from the group. So he woke me up around 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, pitch blackout, desert sky, and we take off up the cliff. And this was certainly the scariest climbing I've ever done, because it's dark out, the sun hasn't risen yet, and we're miles out from anywhere. Wells and I are not exactly mountain climbers, but we're faking our way. And he convinces me to get to the top. And we get up there, and we stand there, and we look out over the canyon just as the sun is peeking over the horizon. And we see the sunrise for the first time in a week, because we've been down in this canyon. And it sort of strikes me that he's been able to bring me to this place of total beauty, just the two of us. And we shared that morning, and we shared lots of amazing experiences like that. And so I guess my toast to the two of you is that you're going to fight, and when you fight, look for the truth that's hidden underneath that fight and that anger. It hides in the shadows. And when you can't find it, call us. We've all been there. We know how to find that truth. Ale, when you get sick, if Wells takes care of you half as good as he took care of me, you'll be just fine. And if Wells ever convinces you to do something, wants to show you a sunrise, go, because it's worth it. And then have a great life.
Which is her 15th birthday is a big thing for us Mexicans. She had it in this building. It was at the church you were all at, some of you. By the same priest, same. So there was a lot of continuity. Similarly, I don't know. Maybe some of you know. It's kind of weird. Wells and Alejandra both have as their middle names their mother's maiden names. Wells on purpose because, he goes by it. Alejandra's a little bit more by accident. Filling out forms at UCLA Medical Center, where she works at right now. A little mix up as far as what middle name and mother's maiden name went. Nonetheless, I'm here to tell you that that's what it is. So as far as continuity, we had Reed come up first, so it's good enough that we have his other brother come up next. We have Stu Wulsin. Come on up, Stu.
So at the rehearsal dinner last night, Alejandra described Wells as the best person she's ever met. And you expect that sort of hyperbole from the bride-to-be. I really don't mean any offense to all of the people in here, but Wells really is the best person. The great thing about being the third brother is that, unlike Reed, who was trying to hide from the dark shadow of Wells, I got to sort of play Peter Pan and try to sew his shadow onto me. And I just figured if I could imitate Wells, I could be the best person too. And so, Wells would read science fiction books, so I thought I would read science fiction books. And he'd wear plaid shirts, so I would wear plaid shirts. And he'd keep a pencil behind his ear, and so I would wear a pencil behind my ear. And, he'd run cross country and play soccer and play the trumpet, and so I would run cross country and play soccer and play the trumpet, and go to Harvard and move to Washington, D.C. to teach in the public school. It worked out really well for me. But all along, the one area in which I could rest assured that Wells had something to learn was when it came to romance. Literally sent an envelope full of baking flour on Valentine's Day to a girl in college. I think on purpose, but maybe he was just confused. his romantic advice was something I never followed. Once he said to me, Stu, never chase after a girl or a bus, because there's always another one coming 10 minutes later. Describing to me a hypothetical math game in which you're trying to maximize your profit by choosing randomly selected ping pong balls that have numbers on them, and you get a certain number of tries, and whatever you can stop whenever you want, but whatever number you're left with at the end, you keep that much money. And he then explained to me that this is a good strategy for dating. Maximize how many ping pong balls you draw for the first third, and then over the next 2/3, having thrown back every ping pong ball regardless of how high it is, you then choose whatever ping pong ball matches the highest from the previous third of the gameplay. Basically, Wells was the type of guy who would meet a really hot girl on a booze cruise and then move to a different city rather than date her. I had very little confidence in his dating skills, and Ali, I assumed that for the many years you had little confidence as well. Unfortunately or fortunately today, I think that we've seen that even in the area of romance, Wells is the best person. Whether it's because of his algorithms or in spite of them, he did end up maximizing the outcome of his love life. And so I just want to congratulate both of you, and especially Ale, because you are marrying the best person, and I know that you're going to have a really happy life together. So please join me in.
Now I'd like to take a little issue with Stu here, because while sending baking flour, baking goods for women is a debatable hoarding strategy, it definitely works with dudes. I'll tell you this, I went to study for the bar exam with my buddy Kirby over here, down there, and while we were studying, we would always get care packages maybe once a month. From Wells, brownies. Brownies every month. You don't have to do that. I mean, yeah, you do. And it worked. I fell in love with them. After Wulsin number 3, it's time to bring up Casillas number 4, the guy that came the longest distance, I think.
Hello everybody, I'm JJ, Jose, whatever you want to call me, the youngest one. Yeah, obviously I'm the last to be born in my family, and I was always known as the baby. And I was fortunate to grow up in a household where I not only had one great mother, sitting beautifully right there, but honestly I had 2. Alejandra always looked at me as if I was her own child, and honestly it was kind of annoying. Let's face it, when you're 18 years old and you have a girl over the door, she had this spidey sense, this knack that she knew every single time the door was locked. It just banged every single time. It was really hard to have a social life at that time, but hey, you managed. But what I really wanted to get into was the fact that story of mine that kind of pops in my head is that when I was 8 years old, Alejandra took me to go see a very special movie. A movie called She's All That. When you're a teenager, you're taking your little brother to go see, who takes their little brother to go see She's All That? I'm 8 years old. Mission Impossible 2 just came out. I want to see that. But no, she insisted to go see She's All That. So we go to see this movie, and she buys me popcorn and soda to kind of sweeten the deal because she knows I really wanted to go see Mission Impossible 2. So, we go in there, nobody's in the theater, just us two. So we're kind of having this little date, I guess, between brother and sister. But no, we're enjoying our time. But what I really distinguishedly remember about that day is that following that night, she had this image that Freddie Prinze Jr. was the greatest man on the face of the earth. She had this biggest crush. She was on her screensaver. She had posters all over the wall of this guy. So, anyway. So Freddie Prinze Jr., yeah. But what I also want to just acknowledge is that, Alejandra, she's the most amazing person in my life. I don't know where I would be without her. She inspired me to do everything that I wanted to do. She is my rock, she's my role model, and she's my hero. And I know that, you never got to meet Freddie Prinze Jr., but I look at Wells and I say, Freddie Prinze Jr. who? Yeah. So with that, I just want to say congratulations to my beautiful sister and her handsome, oh so handsome husband. I want to say congratulations and good luck in the future. Thank you.
I've met Freddie Prinze Jr. He's not very good looking. It's all trick and talk. So, we had CS number 4. It's only fair we bring up Wilson number 4.
So, like JJ, I had the privilege of having 3 parents.
3 parents?
Wells was in this kind of netherland between brother and father. He was just almost 7.5 years older than me, but he, regardless of age, he was always in his own world. He was in his room studying, and he was off. He had a job when he was, it must have been illegal, but he got a job working at the swim club. I don't know why, he's always wanted to work. He's not happy to just relax. But also like JJ, my memory of Wells is from when I was 8 years old. And I was a pretty smart kid, and I realized, hey, I'm 8, he's 16, that makes him twice my age. And I was so proud of myself for figuring that out. I said, hey Wells, guess what? You're twice my age. And Wells never misses an opportunity to remind you of how smart he is. He said, John, this is only going to happen once. And my moment of brilliance was gone. I couldn't figure it out. What do you mean once? Wells has always talked a lot, but in his toast, he was talking about that moment he was up in Canada, and he had this yearning for Alejandra. And I think yearning is a euphemism. Scared shitless because in a couple weeks his youngest son was about to get married and he had no idea what he was doing with his romance. So that was in August of 2009, and I don't know if it was my wedding, which was August 15th, but I can tell myself it was. He got him on his high horse and said, I'm going to do something. And I'll do whatever it takes, even if it means managing long distance. And I met Alejandra, I don't know when. It seems like it was a long time ago, even though it couldn't have been that long ago, Wells. But when I met Alejandra, I knew that Wells had found someone truly, truly exceptional. And he took a long time. But like everything Wells does, he does it with purpose, and he does it right. And he did it right with Alejandra. So, Wells made twice my age, but will always look up to him. He'll always be my big, big, big brother. And I wish you guys nothing but the best. So thank you so much. And I actually want to take this moment to give my lovely grandmother, Betty Wells, a moment with the microphone.
I was a grandmother, but full-time babysitter. Some days, some weeks, some months. And my chief helper, Casillas-Wulsin, before he had those other three to bother us, was my pride and joy. And one day I had him in the bathtub, and I was handing him a washcloth or a cake of soap or a rubber toy. And he looks up with that look of Wells's and he says, "Take off your clothes and get in."
Apparently there's a lot of smooth operators in the building. Some smoother than others. Now here's another smooth operator. Alan, come on up.
Howard Wells Wulsin. He's an impressive man. You've heard it tonight. What makes him so impressive? Funny? Check. Intelligent? Check. Athletic build of a soccer player? Check. The need to find a subatomic particle present at the time of the Big Bang? Check. Everything you're looking for in a potential spouse. I've known Wells for 14 years now. He's become a brother to me. And I'm convinced that if I were a woman, my mom would have married me off to him. I know this because she's told me. But in all seriousness, you got a flavor for some of his exploits tonight. And I was there back at Harvard at our graduation week when he met Alejandra. And it's not surprising that we find ourselves here tonight. He was giddy like a schoolgirl back then. I didn't see him much over graduation. I wondered, who's stealing my brother away from me? But as time has gone on, I've seen why she stole him away. If I played some small part in your two getting together, then that makes me immensely, immensely happy. Alejandra, I've gotten to know you for your sincerity, your generosity, and you're just a seriously cool girl. So, between the two of you, I can't wait to see your super kids in the future. And I look forward to visiting you in Switzerland, so keep the guest room ready. And please raise your toast to Alejandra.
Last but not least, it's like an all-star team. We got designated here, getting to 10 of them. I had the pleasure of meeting this person a couple of months back. We had a family meal. The Wilsons came over. Fisk Lane. Met most of the Casillas except JJ because he wasn't here. And all our neighbors got mad because instantly, there was just noise. It was just loud. Deal with it. It was just a lot of people. And, we didn't get to hear his speech at church. But, he's just a great guy. You saw him coming in, little frame, in a dashing beige suit. Luxurious. He's a great guy. I've really come to really just love this man. He's mean, now Alejandra's father-in-law, he's just, I mean, he's a cool guy to get to know if you haven't met him yet. Casillas-Wulsin, get used to it. Awesome.
So, one of the many lines from today's service that really caught my attention was when Tio Rafa said in his reading of the Gospel, y el amor es paciente. And it reminded me of the first talk that my mother gave me on romance when I was about 13. And she told me about her grandmother's first question to the aunt who had raised her. This is in 1908. And my mother's mother, asked her, how do you know when to kiss a young man? And her aunt looked at her and said, kiss him when you can't help it. And my mother, who was quite a sermonizer herself, thought this was the beginning of a lesson for me and my older brother, who was already knee-deep in girl trouble. But this was 1966, and I knew about Mick Jagger and free love, and clearly my mother didn't know anything about it. I thought, what a waste. Que perdida. All those kisses missed. How Victorian. This was passion denied. It made no sense to me at 13. And you know, we heard tonight about 1976 and Senor Clarín saying, "Huevo en un año," and they're having to wait a whole year. And there's something about waiting that tests passion. There's something about tested passion that guides us. You know, it's the loves that don't go away that really guide us through life. Jose had to wait a year. Ali had to wait 10 years. Yes! Yes! Oh, she learned the lesson. Yes. And so I want to thank you for waiting, for knowing what this love was for you, while Wells was out testing alternative hypotheses. I want to thank you, Wells, for rejecting those hypotheses. So, many thanks for waiting, both of you, each in your way. And this love's going to guide all of us. It's a good lesson to us. And many thanks to you, Jose and Marco. No. And to Senor Clarín, also, for his wisdom. Yeah, the theme of the stories, all three stories that you were telling. So, many thanks. Because I know there's some of you who would not be able to go to sleep tonight. I did not hear this poem. Let us not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, love is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown though his height be taken. Love's not time's fool. Although rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come, love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved.
weddings, you get, you know, the paradigm where daddy's little girl, and you have, you know, the groom's father, nice pat on the back. Although the way Lawson tells it, it was more like that first came with a good kick in the butt. I think, you know, we forget about the moms, and the moms are the ones that I think, you know, shape the kids, give them the heart. Like, oh, they mentioned that Alejandra's heart was enlarged when she was younger, but someone filled that heart with empathy, with just like a huge sense of, you know, helping people and just caring for others outside of herself. And so I'd like to say, you know, salute, you know, Victoria Wulsin, and my mom, Marta Casillas. Every day is Mother's Day. But with that, you know, no more speeches, it's done.
Good evening. Alejandra's father and Wells' mother to come up and dance.